From beautiful and sunny Oxnard, California, we welcome you to a brand new special edition on the campus of Training Camp 2023, brought to you by American Airlines. With Super Bowl champions Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you're with us. And we're going to hear a little bit of John Fossil in the background because the Cowboys continue to build toward week number 1 of the regular season out here in Oxnard on the West Coast in the beautiful weather. And John Fossil, I think he likes the weather because he's got a lot of energy. And you're going to hear him throughout in the background, but that's just an inside look for you guys at home. But playing off of the energy, what has the energy felt like here in Oxnard throughout the first 3 weeks of camp?
There's been a lot of juice, Kyle, and the reason why is because these guys have been highly competitive, and there's a lot of position battles that are taking place. You can go all the way from the offensive line to the wide receivers to the tight ends, RB2, flip it over to the other side of the ball, the defensive line. Those guys are getting after it as well. There's been a lot of thudding going on in terms of pads, a lot of banging, and it's really, really good for these guys to get these reps in going towards the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's been a lot of thudding. The energy has been super high, but, you know, it's coming from the defense. We need for this thing to come from the offense. Our offensive line, we're still trying to shuffle it around, trying to find out what Zach's going to do. But until he get here, we need for the offensive line to start taking over and dominating some of these practices.
Yeah, Zach Martin looking for that new contract, still has not shown up to training camp at the moment. And with the preseason underway, it might only be a matter of time, or this might continue to grow into a bigger story than it is at the moment. But speaking of new contracts, one of the guys on that Cowboys defense had a chance to grab a new contract. Malik Hooker at the safety position, heading into year number 3 with the Dallas organization, signed a 3-year, $24 million extension. And overall, Isaiah, this is a good look for the defense and a good look for the front office trying to regenerate his career.
Kudos to the Dallas Cowboys front office as they have just secured the entire secondary for the Dallas Cowboys for the years to come. They went out there, secured Donald, they secured Curse, and now all of a sudden they got Malik Hooker, who was obviously a couple years ago coming off that Achilles injury. He proved himself over the past few years, and now he just got what he deserved. And he's able to go out there, run sideline to sideline, worry-free in terms of his pockets. Now they're a little bit heavier.
He's our free safety. He's the last line of defense. I like that. It's rare when you get a guy that wants to be on the team and is willing to maybe accept a touch less than the going market. So, hey, man, Malik, you the man.
He has been the man, and he's been the man with Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn has helped regenerate Malik Hooker's career. Here's what Malik had to say about the decision to stay, the decision to remain a Dallas Cowboys player, but also to stick with Dan Quinn.
I knew I didn't want to go nowhere and play with nobody else. I knew, this is where I've been calling home the last 2 years. It's felt like home. I'm comfortable here. A lot of the people like me here. So, it was just, just feeling like a family. So I wanted to make it mandatory that I stayed here. Man, it's special. It's special. Just for how he, I guess you could say revamped me and brought me back to life. I couldn't ask more to be able to stay in this scheme and this system. And like I said, to be playing with the guys I'm surrounded with, man. I know I'm saying it a lot, but I tell you, there's nothing that those guys want to do for me, and there's nothing I want to do for them. I really mean it. So special to be able to stay here.
Malik Hooker brought to you by Texas Lotto. And one of the big things about this defense and Dan Quinn is his ability to regenerate guys' careers. Dante Fowler Jr.'s had that. You look at J-Ron Curse, he was a journeyman special teams player, and now all of a sudden he's a key member of this defense. Why is this safety group such a good fit for Dan Quinn and Dan Quinn's system?
The versatility. You continue to hear that all through training camp. The versatility of that everybody presents to this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But Malik Hooker, he's one of the 3 safeties that are going to be in this rotation at all times. There's usually at least 3, if not 4 safeties on the field. So Malik Hooker gives these guys the ability to run sideline to sideline, Curse, Dono. Those guys like to be in the box and act as an additional linebacker and have that run presence.
And so talking with Dan Quinn, I talked to him just a little bit at lunch the other day, and I said, what is it about these guys? How did you learn that development? He said he got it from, just being in the league so long and watching other coaches, And so now he looks at guys, not what they can't do, but what they can do, and he fits a scheme around all of his players.
That's a huge piece. And you also talk about some of the storylines in camp so far. It's the youth of the safety position that's starting to step up. Guys like Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas have all had great camps so far. Is that also an indication of how Dan Quinn fits his players to the scheme? Or it fits the scheme to the players?
Yeah, it's an indication of this front office doing what they needed to do to give him the resources he needs to be successful. That's one of the highly touted positions. We talk about the 3 starters on that side of the ball, but you also just mentioned Marquise Bell. You got Coyle in there. You have Wanye Thomas. There's a lot of guys that are voting for position and a lot of playing reps there.
When you just stop and think 2 or 3 years ago, we did not value the safety position. And that has been key with the dime and the nickel and guys trying to cover the field, long, tall guys. Dan Quinn went out and found the guys along with Will McClay, and now we sit here bragging on a secondary. Just 3 years ago that was lost.
Yeah, it's been quite some time since the Cowboys have had a secondary with this much depth and this much talent really from the get-go. And like Isaiah said, credit to the front office. And when we come back, we hear from a key member of that Cowboys front office. Stephen Jones sits down with a one-on-one with our very own Nick Eatman. And are the Cowboys done making roster acquisitions before heading into preseason week number 2 against the Seahawks?
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
Welcome back into Special Edition. Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. And, of course, now that the preseason has started, the roster building continues for this Cowboys front office. And a member of that Cowboys front office, Stephen Jones, sits down with our very own Nick Eatman.
What has caught your eye the most about what you're seeing out there?
I just love the competition between the offense and the defense. That's not only between the players. I feel it between Dan and Mike, their competitiveness against one another. But the competition's just been outstanding. When we talked to Mike early on in the preseason, back in the mini camps and things like that, when we were considering practicing against another team, he said, we got such a competitive roster, we can control our narrative.
Who are the players that have really stood out the most here?
Well, I think, obviously on a consistent basis, you got to point to a couple of the later round picks and Scott Brooks. Scott holding down that corner spot, Brooks playing the receiver spot. But we were having a personnel meeting the other day, and, Dan thinks, there's 3 or 4 guys there. If you start with Mozzie and move through to Fehoko and Scott, those are all guys that are going to help us win games this year. And, feel the same way on offense. It's great to get Schoonmaker out there the other day and see him move around some. So certainly Awesome Richards is just getting better each day, and I think he'll continue to do that.
One guy that you didn't mention is getting some work at running back with Ronald Jones missing some time and Tony Pollard missing some time. Deuce Vaughn is getting some carries, and not just out in space. He's running the ball right in the trenches.
Well, he's electric. I was sitting in the defensive meeting room watching the defensive tape the other day with Dan, and they were mentioning, boy, you better keep him in close, because once he gets out in the open field, he's electric. And just an oversight on my part. He's had a great camp, and certainly I know Mike's got a lot of ideas on how to use him in packages, that can really help us move the football.
All right, well, one more question I'll just ask about Dak, the receivers that he's got. He's got Cooks, he's got Lamb, he's got Gallup. It seems like they're really connecting well out here.
Absolutely, and I throw Tolbert in there, right there with all of them, because he's had a great camp. He's, since the day he stepped foot on the field in the preseason, mini camps, etc., he's just done a great job. Cooks has been a great influence on Tolbert, and but there is I think a great dynamic going on out there between Dak and his receivers, and certainly he's starting to get a feel for the tight ends as well. They're young, but he has a lot of respect for them, and like I said, it's great to get Schoonmaker on the field as well and see how he does as we move forward.
All right, well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for stopping by. That's Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones.
You can catch the entire interview with Stephen Jones on DallasCowboys.com, brought to you by Reliant. But when we come back here on Special Edition, I challenge these guys, Isaiah and Nate. Is Jake Ferguson ready to take the next step and become tight end number 1 in year number 2 in the NFL?
This segment was brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan. This segment is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Special edition rolling on here from Oxnard, California. And Isaiah, you played a little bit of tight end, right? Just a little bit.
Poquito.
I was about to say, you played quarterback. You also played wide receiver. Nate, did you ever play tight end?
Yes, I played a little bit with the Carolina Panthers in my last year, and I was terrible. Terrible.
Wow, terrible. There you go. Tight end Nate Newton joining us here on Special Edition. Let's talk about the tight end position because there's a lot of youth in that room. Lunda Wells has a young bunch of hungry tight ends. And let's start with second-round pick Luke Schoonmaker, who made his return to practice this week, dealing with some plantar fasciitis throughout the first offseason as a rookie. I mean, things aren't easy for rookies in the first place. It certainly hasn't been easy on Schoonmaker.
No, I know a little bit about getting drafted, and coming in injured. So it's a bad situation for him to be in. But he's back on the field. He's back in. He's starting to get team reps. He's starting to be a lot more active. Now it's just a matter of getting his feet underneath him, getting more confident with his footing, being able to get in there and be in chemistry with the offensive tackles because they brought him in here to do what? Be able to assist in the blocking game. Okay, that's in pass and run. So he needs to build that chemistry with all the guys that are rotating at the offensive line position so he can be as effective as they hope that he can make.
I can't pronounce that injury, but I know the sooner you pop it or the sooner you take that big 6-inch needle in the heel, the quicker to the heel. So we need to get him back out there and get him a whole lot of reps.
Whole lot of reps. He got some reps early in the week. Monday, he returned to practice. Only did individual drills on Tuesday. He actually worked into team drills, and he caught a touchdown pass on his first practice back, and then, of course, into the rest of the week as well. As for really the starter right now at the tight end position, or so it seems, Jake Ferguson, fourth-round pick from 2022, heading into year number 2. Is he ready and primed to make that jump and become the starter in the room?
I think so, especially in this type of offense. This type of offense, they're not going to ask a lot of him, but to get out of obviously take care of protection, take care of his run blocking, and then run short, precise routes. He's pretty much going to be playing basketball. Going to be posting up guys and linebackers 5 to 10 yards down the field, and it's going to be on the quarterback to make sure they put it in a good position so that he can catch and get some run.
What's going to make this guy exceptional and what we're not used to is he's going to be a devastating run blocker. He know how to get in there, he know how to get leverage, he know how to get his hands inside, and he's going to push people off the ball. That's going to give Tony and the other guys a chance to have us have an outside running game, and he will catch the ball. He did a great job at Wisconsin, even though there are ground grabbers out there.
Well, that's the thing about Jake Ferguson. He was highly touted coming out of Wisconsin as an all-around tight end. This week in practice, he's shown that. He's made a couple of receptions. He went up against Micah Parsons on 2 different occasions and blocked him up off of the edge. And if you can do that, you can pretty much do anything, I think, at the NFL level at this point. Isaiah and I had a chance to catch up with Cooper Rush before the preseason game against Jacksonville, and he even said, Jake has been blocking his behind off. He's been really pushing it and getting into the fold, and that's one thing I think this offense really appreciates about Jake Ferguson is not only can he catch the ball, but he can also block in front of these guys as well. As for Jake Ferguson's running mate from the rookie season in 2022, Peyton Hendershot, he's had an up-and-down camp, but that confidence appears to be building. He have a lot to be confident about going into his second year as well.
I think, honestly, they believe in him more than he believes in himself right now. Wow. And that's a huge testament to what he's capable of. It's just a matter of continuing that confidence, right? He needs to go out there and continue to ball out in the preseason as they present themselves. But they see him as the tight end that is the pass catcher. He's the route specialist of those guys, of that entire room. So he's going to have an opportunity not only out there in third down situations, but especially in red zone, to be the man that they're looking toward to be able to make the big plays for them.
He's been up when he's been catching the ball. He's been down because he don't want to block nobody. Bruh, block some people. You the red zone tight end, you the open field tight end. They cherish that right there because you can play forever.
He's had plenty of opportunities too, but one other name just to keep an eye on, John Stevens. He's been highly touted. He's been making some plays here in Oxnard, and I'm sure as the preseason continues, you'll continue to hear his name, undrafted free agent out of Louisiana Lafayette. Somebody to keep an eye on for Cowboys Nation at home. Somebody else they should keep an eye on, Sam Williams heading into year number 2, the edge rusher from Ole Miss and a second-round pick a year ago, looking to take the next step in Dan Quinn's defense. When we come back on Special Edition, Haley Sutton sits down with Sam and gets the rundown on how he's feeling heading into that second year in the NFL.
This segment was brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Welcome back to Oxnard, California, alongside Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Youmans. Let's check in with the fourth member of our crew, Haley Sutton, who had a chance to sit down with one of the young edge rushers that Cowboys Nation has a lot of excitement about.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm so excited to be joined by none other than defensive end Sam Williams. Sam, this is so exciting for me just to kind of see your development over time. You're going into year 2 now with the Cowboys. What's the mentality been like in terms of going into that year 1 versus year 2 this year?
To enjoy the process, like, and within the training camp, off season, I just enjoy it. Like last year, I felt like I was rushing everything. Like, I want all these sacks now, I want all this now. But now I'm trying to like enjoy the process of learning how to get those and be successful for this year.
Going into training camp this year, we knew that the defensive side of the ball for this team was going to be the staple. How have you seen the defense develop over these last couple of weeks as you go into the first game week of the year?
I feel like we just like maturing as a group. You hear more communications, even with the rookie class. Like, they're catching on pretty quick because the older guys, they help them. So I just feel like it's a more mature group. Everybody's for one, and everybody wants to win.
You had 4 sacks last season. How do you top that this year?
I'm going to top that. I want 10 sacks this year. Like, every time I get on the field, I just try to show coach, like, why I belong on the field. And as a group, I feel like no matter who's on the field, there's no drop-off. So it's kind of hard for coach. Like, I know it's a frustrating job for coach to see who's on the field at these moments because we all are capable of doing the exact same thing.
What is a successful day against Jacksonville for you?
Well, just to play within the system the right way, to be consistent and like show effort, and just basically show leadership to the younger guys that be on the field with me, or some of the same guys be. Just, I don't know, just try to be myself.
If you could rank this defense out of 10, what would you rank it?
What is it? BMS, broke my scale.
Oh, broke my scale. All right,
We used
Sam.
to say that like back in the day. You don't know nothing about that.
I know. Well, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for sitting with me.
Okay,
Are
thank
we
you.
going to do our handshake?
Oh, yeah. No, it's 2. Wait.
know, I
It's
messed it up.
1, 2. Yeah. Up, down.
Got it.
Thank you so much, Haley. Of course, that interview brought to you by AT&T. But when we come back, the Cowboys have a bit of a kicking situation. Is Brandon Aubry the right and comfortable answer for the Cowboys, or should they be kicking tires before the start of the season?
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Final segment of Special Edition here from Oxnard, California, alongside Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Youmans. Still plenty of energy behind us as practice continues, the mock game continues, and this team looks to build heading into week number 1. Now, preseason underway, but there's only one more kicker on the roster. Tristan Vizcaino released earlier in the week, and you've got Brandon Aubry signed from the USFL just a couple weeks prior to the start of training camp as the lone kicker on the roster. They gave him a shot going into this preseason game. I mean, overall, you got to give the guy a chance because you got to see what he's got, right?
Hey, listen up. The USFL has been good to the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, they throw the dice and they got Kavontae Turpin. They got Big Nate Newton. That worked out pretty doggone well. He should be in the Hall of Fame. We wait on standby on that. But we're going to give him opportunity. I think they're giving him all the reps, obviously, by letting Vizcaino go. But he needs to deliver. I know earlier in the week, they had a little competition in practice, and it did not pan out well. So we're hoping that he continues to develop. If not, there's going to be an addition to this roster.
As you walk on the field, I'm talking about all the players and us, as we walk into the field, it's a goal post to our left. That is the curse of all kickers. Last year, all kickers were lost. We had to sign the guy. I'm hoping this curse can be broken with this kid.
Yeah, hopefully so. And if you can continue on to get that done, that's something I think the Cowboys would love to just put to side. Because, I mean, it looked like that was the case last year with Brett Maher. They went in with Liram Hajrullahu. They picked up Jonathan Garibay. Neither one of them made it out of Oxnard, but Brett Maher did. Was great through the regular season. Then, of course, we all know what happened in the divisional round the wild card round against Tampa Bay. So changes at kicker. We'll see if any other changes happen along the way as well. But that does it for us here on Special Edition from Oxnard, California. For Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long. We'll see you next time.